the heart of the Nevada desert, a city was born, one that would forever change the world of entertainment, wealth, and crime. But what if I told you that the city we now know as Las Vegas was built on the shoulders of a ruthless criminal? A man so dangerous, so cunning, that his actions would lay the foundation for the glittering, chaotic playground of vice and excess we now call Sin City. And his name was Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. But here's the real question. How did a notorious gangster, a killer for hire, mastermind one of the most successful and deadly business ventures in American history? And how did he go from being a low-level thug to a key figure in shaping the future of a multi-billion-dollar industry? Stay with me, because the answer isn't just about crime. It's about ambition, betrayal, and the dark side of the American dream. This is the untold story of Bugsy Siegel and the Mafia's role in building modern Las Vegas. Before we get into this wild ride of ambition, betrayal, and crime, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more deep dives into incredible business stories, untold stories of history's most infamous figures and business titans. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel wasn't always a name that would send shivers down your spine. Born in Brooklyn in 1906, Bugsy came from humble beginnings. His family was poor, struggling to make ends meet in the heart of New York City. Like many of his generation, he found himself drawn to the street life, the promises of fast money and power that came with the world of organized crime. By the time he was a teenager, Bugsy had already developed a reputation that would follow him his entire life. He was known for his temper, his ruthlessness, and his willingness to do whatever it took to climb the criminal ladder. And climb he did. He joined forces with some of the most infamous figures in the underworld, men like Meyer Lansky and Charles Lucky Luciano, leaders of the infamous Jewish-Italian Mafia syndicate known as the National Crime Syndicate. These men were not just petty criminals, they were businessmen, power brokers, and, most importantly, players in a high-stakes game that reached all the way to the top of the American criminal empire. But it wasn't just about running numbers or bootlegging liquor. Bugsy had an eye for something bigger. His ambition didn't just involve collecting cash. He had a vision of a city that could turn every vice into a commodity, every gamble into a gold mine. This vision would lead him out of the streets of New York and into the barren desert of Nevada, where an oasis of wealth, fame, and danger would soon rise from the dust. The year was 1945, and Bugsy Siegel had his sights set on the nascent city of Las Vegas. But here's the twist. Bugsy didn't just want to open a casino. No, he wanted to create something extraordinary, something that would set the world on fire, a hotel and casino that would forever change the Vegas skyline. With the East Coast won, Siegel craves glamour, so he moves to Hollywood, where starlets call him Ben and studio heads owe him favors. On the surface, a charming businessman. Underneath, blackmail, rackets, a heroin pipeline from Mexico. He buys police chiefs, fixes trials, even dates actress Wendy Berry. But his real obsession? Gambling. And 300 miles northeast, a dusty railroad town called Las Vegas is about to become his destiny. Bugsy's dream? The Flamingo Hotel. The Flamingo wasn't just another casino. It was a monument to Bugsy's ambition. He spared no expense, building it from the ground up with opulence and extravagance that no one had ever seen in Las Vegas. His connections in Hollywood helped bring in glamorous stars, and his mafia ties ensured that the project had the financial backing to grow beyond anyone's expectations. But there was a problem. Despite the lavish plans and grand designs, the Flamingo was a disaster from the start. The budget spiraled out of control and the construction was plagued by delays. Problems start immediately. Costs balloon from $1.5 million to $6 million, over $80 million today. Siegel demands imported palm trees, a private airstrip, gold leaf ceilings. The contractors, terrified. The mob, furious. Bugsy's vision for the future of Las Vegas seemed doomed to failure, and whispers of his mismanagement began to reach the ears of his mafia partners. Bugsy's partners, the mafia families that had invested millions, were growing impatient. They were seeing their money evaporate into the desert sands, and they weren't happy. The once loyal associates began to question whether Bugsy had what it took to make this vision a reality. Bugsy wasn't just a criminal mastermind. He was a man who thrived on danger. But even he could not ignore the warnings. The Mafia was not known for being forgiving. They demanded results. Despite the mounting pressure, Bugsy pressed forward. But as the project faced more delays and the Mafia's patience thinned, the dark undercurrents of betrayal began to rise. Was Bugsy's ambition too big? Had his greed blinded him to the consequences of his actions? The Flamingo's opening night would decide everything. The Flamingo finally opened on December 26th of 1946, but it was a failure. That night doomed him. A freak storm washes out the roads. Frank Sinatra cancels. High rollers stay home. The casino loses $300,000 in a week. And the mob? They're furious. They want blood. Bugsy's casino was a financial disaster. What followed was a series of scandalous revelations. Bugsy had overspent on the casino's construction, and worse, he had pocketed millions for himself. The Mafia had had enough. June 20th, 1947, 10:30 p.m. Bugsy Siegel relaxes after dinner. He doesn't see the car idling outside, doesn't hear the rifle being loaded. The first bullet shatters the window. 9 shots, 2 hit his lungs, 1 obliterates his right eye. The mob's signature. No last words, no dramatic escape, just silence. The killers, gone. The mastermind, most likely Lansky himself. In June 1947, just 6 months after the Flamingo's opening, Bugsy Siegel was gunned down in his home. The Mafia had made their move. The man who had dreamed of turning Las Vegas into a paradise had instead become a casualty of his own ambition. Bugsy's death was a turning point. While he paid the ultimate price, the legacy of the Flamingo lived on. Las Vegas would rise to become a multi-billion-dollar industry, attracting millions of visitors every year. While Bugsy Siegel's murder was a pivotal moment in the history of Las Vegas, a city that would forever be associated with luxury, vice, and entertainment. It's important to understand the lingering shadow of the Mafia, which continued to loom over the city long after his death. In fact, many argue that the Mafia's influence on Las Vegas didn't end with Bugsy. It only evolved. The Mafia saw Las Vegas as a gold mine. Bugsy may have been the one to physically build the Flamingo, but it was the Mafia families, including the Chicago outfit and the Genovese family, that laid the foundation for the city's criminal underpinnings. They weren't just involved in running casinos. They were embedded in nearly every aspect of the city's economy, from the labor unions that built the casinos to the skim profits from the gaming tables. The Mafia had their hands everywhere. The truth is, for decades, Las Vegas was run like a well-oiled machine by organized crime. The city's rise to fame as the entertainment capital of the world was fueled by Mafia dollars and connections. Even after Bugsy's death, his partners, and the families he had worked with, continued to profit, ensuring the control they held was never truly broken. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Many believe that the Mafia's influence over Las Vegas didn't just vanish. Allegations have persisted that organized crime continues to have a hand in the city's operations, even as it grew into a legal, legitimate business empire. Some say the Mafia's fingerprints are still visible behind the scenes, operating quietly in the shadows, controlling everything from casino profits to political influence. So while the days of overt Mafia control may be long gone, there's a lingering question: how much of the old guard's influence still holds sway over this glittering city? And just how deep does their reach go? Perhaps in the heart of Las Vegas, some things never really change. The story of Bugsy Siegel isn't just one of crime, betrayal, and murder. It's a tale of ambition, vision, and the price of living on the edge. So what can we learn from the rise and fall of Bugsy Siegel? The key lesson here is this: ambition is a double-edged sword. Bugsy's vision for Las Vegas was bold, but without proper planning, the cost of that ambition can destroy everything you've worked for. Never underestimate the value of patience, of managing risk, and of knowing when to push and when to pull back. Bugsy was a visionary, but he failed to manage the financial realities of his vision, and that led to his downfall. Lastly, loyalty is everything in business. Bugsy's betrayal of his mafia partners wasn't just about money, it was about trust. When that trust was broken, there was no going back. The story of Bugsy Siegel is a cautionary tale, one that reminds us all of the thin line between success and failure, and how, sometimes, that line is drawn by the choices we make. So the next time you step onto the neon-lit streets of Las Vegas, remember, this city wasn't built on luck alone. It was built on ambition, crime, and the man who dreamed of turning the desert into gold. Bugsy Siegel is also a reminder that sometimes the biggest dreams come with the biggest risks. But the real question is, can ambition and crime ever mix in a way that leads to success? Or is the price always too high? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of Las Vegas, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story on business, money, and the unexpected outcomes that come with it.